Hello everyone, welcome back to the Very Cold Lasagna podcast. I'm your host, DylanLasagna, and this is episode number 204 of this icy yet spicy sports podcast with all the filthy casual takes, well, on the world of sports. And in this episode, we're here to talk about, well, WWE Money in the Bank 2024 and the fallout of that show that happened this past Monday on Raw. My brief thoughts on that episode of Raw from July 8th, 2024 in this super late, out-of-date review of both of those shows. And yeah, the overall fallout from this past weekend's WWE Money in the Bank 2024 pay-per-view. So yes, a little bit of a break from our 2024 NFL season preview month. For my NFL fans out there, we first last met with each other with the NFC North side, and then in the next part 3, we'll be covering the NFC South. So we'll cover that in the next episode, but for now, a little bit of a buffer for all my wrestling and non-wrestling fans out there with a little bit of wrestling talk here in this episode. But we'll resume our NFL season preview month in the next episode. For now, let's talk a little bit about wrestling. Before we do, make sure you follow Very Cold Lasagna on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna for all my filthy casual takes over there. Even more of them, by the way. And make sure you're listening to Very Cold Lasagna wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube as well. Watch it on YouTube. Make sure you smash the subscribe button. Leave a comment down below with your filthy casual takes as well on each and every topic that I talk about in this event. WWE Money in the Bank and the episode that we're going to be talking about of Monday Night Raw this past Monday on July 8th. And share this with your friends. Share this with your neighbors. Share this with a stranger. Share this with your coworkers. Share this with your school colleagues. Share this with whoever you want to share this with. The good, the bad, the ugly about this filthy casual podcast that we call Very Cold Lasagna. That being said, let's talk about this pay-per-view, shall we? WWE Money in the Bank 2024. Or, as the tagline likes to say, Yeet in the Bank 2024. The poster is very fitting of the poster man, Jey Uso. Yeet in the bank. It's pretty corny, but it's at the same time it's pretty funny. But I digress. Let's talk about this pay-per-view. A lot to cover on this show that I honestly was actually pretty excited for. Something I haven't felt in a pretty long while with these triple nose man pay-per-views and just a lot of unexpected things that could happen on this show. So I was excited. There could have been like this could have happened, that could have happened, that could have happened. And yes, there were only 5 matches on this show, but man, there could have been certainly a lot of possibilities that could have happened when it came to this pay-per-view. So this took place on Saturday, July 6th, on 4th of July weekend. And this was, the 15th annual Money in the Bank. Like, holy hell. This thing started in July of 2010 when I was like in middle school. Like, fuck. And here we are 14 years later. And they had 15 of these. Like, damn, I'm getting old. But anyway, this was first announced back in January and is going to be held in the Scotiabank Arena, home of the Toronto Raptors of the NBA, home of the Toronto Maple Leafs of the NHL, and it's going to be obviously in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So a little bit of fun fact for you with this Money in the Bank pay-per-view. This will be the first time that Scotiabank Arena, or formerly known as Air Canada Centre, that this would be the first time since SummerSlam 2019 that a WWE pay-per-view would take place in this arena. And this would be the second straight Money in the Bank pay-per-view that was going to be held internationally. Because remember last year, Money in the Bank was held overseas in London, England, mate. So obviously, the signature event match of this event was the Money in the Bank ladder match, first introduced in 2005 by Chris Jericho. And this match had both the men and women competing for the sole objective of this match. Climb the ladder, retrieve the briefcase above the ring, which guarantees the winning man, or in this case of the other side, the winning woman a guaranteed championship match of their time and place within the next calendar year. So, like I said, there could have been some interesting winners coming out of both men's and women's Money in the Bank ladder matches. Of course, we'll talk about it when we get there. And then announced the day before the event, you had WWE Hall of Famer and Toronto's own Trish Stratus named as the host of this event. So, I mean, we'll see what she would do during this event. She got the crowd all hyped up during that kickoff show. But that being said, let's waste no further time and talk about this card. Like I said, only 5 matches on this show. And I gotta say, why the hell we only have 5 matches on this pay-per-view? Like, and just in general, I'm a little peeved by this 5-match rule that Noseman, aka Triple Paul Levesque McMahon, really likes to do. Like, the sweet spot for a pay-per-view, or as the cool kids like to say, premium live event, should be 6 or 7. And I get it. Some people like quality over quantity, but when most of your show is filled with fluff, with commercials, ad breaks, and meaningless shit, that's no way to fill up a 3-hour show. Like, you're just basically running a televised show, just with so many more commercials. That's it. That's all it is. And like, there's no ad breaks between the matches. You're just having them after the matches. Like, your sweet spot should be 6 to 7. I don't know why Triple Nose doesn't understand this. And it's not like the matches were that long anyway during this show. But I mean, the positive is I get to go to sleep early. So anyway, enough dooley-dallying. Let's talk about this Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which kicked off with the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And your participants were Jey Uso, Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, L.A. Knight, and Drew McIntyre. More than half of this field could have realistically won the Money in the Bank ladder match. Because when you look at Jey Uso, I mean, he calls himself Main Event Jey Uso, but yet he's come up so short in all of these major matches for quite some time now. Like last year at SummerSlam, where he should have won the WWE Championship against Roman Reigns, the Royal Rumble match, the World Heavyweight Championship match against Damian Priest at Backlash, and then, there's also an Intercontinental Championship match, I believe, against the Ring General Gunther, and now you have this match, a chance to grab the Money in the Bank contract and potentially cash it in on whoever's going to be world champion at whatever point. Then you had Chad Gable coming off that Alpha Academy storyline, which I believe they completely botched, like after Clash of the Castle, which is upsetting. But nonetheless, Chad Gable doing the best work of his career right now. Then of course you have L.A. Knight, the charismatic superstar on SmackDown right now. Not much needs to be said about him. And then of course you have one Scottish warrior, Drew McIntyre, who has been the player here of the year. So far, I believe, one of the MVPs of 2024, going after CM Junk and wrecking havoc where on the mic and in the ring. So he's been doing God's work right now. Going into this, like I said, this was the most unpredictable Money in the Bank ladder match in a long ass time. And not only could you pick so many people like Jay, Chad, LA Knight, and Drew McDaddy, there was also because of how it could have ended in multiple ways, because of the stories involved, like the Wyatt Six, this new group of scary people led by Bo Dallas, aka Uncle Howdy, potentially making their way involved in this match, or even before this match, going after Chad Gable. Logan Paul, the United States champion, costing LA Knight this match. I mentioned him already. CM Punk getting payback on Drew McIntyre for attacking him on SmackDown in his hometown of Chicago. You even also had the bootleg bloodline led by that fake-ass tribal chief, Solo Sikoa, getting involved in attacking Jey Uso. There could have been a number of possibilities in this match. I didn't expect more than half of them to to play out, or all of them, because that would have been a little too much. But I was expecting at least one or two of them to play out, because you kind of needed it. You kind of need at least one of them to advance the story, advance one of their people's stories going into the biggest party of the summer, and that was SummerSlam. So for the match itself, I love this. I really like this. It was really fun, and I get it. Ladder matches can be typical spot orgies, but I don't know why, but this was just one of those that had some nice spots in it. Like, for example, Andrade doing the springboard plancha, or it's like some springboard backflip with Carmelo Hayes, and then they just landed on a ladder. And then you had Chad Gable doing his best Perk Angle impersonation, just like German suplexing everyone, and then suplexing LA Knight, like a belly to belly suplexing LA Knight out of the ring and onto a ladder that took him out of the match. And then at one point during that match, he, like, despite all his best efforts, he got a "you still suck" chant from Toronto. Like, boy, this man is putting on a clinic for all y'all, and this is what you do to him. But I get it. He treated his family like crap. That damn dictator, Chad Gable. So speaking of Chad Gable, he was nearly about to win this match. Jay tipped him off the ladder, and then he held on for dear life, Chad Gable. And unfortunately, he lost his grip, fell face first, which probably hurt like hell, ate a spear from Jey Uso, and Jay was about to win this match. Yeet Man was about to unhook the briefcase before Drew McDaddy threw a ladder at him like a javelin, like a spear. And then Jay fell off the ladder. Drew gave him a claymore, and then he climbed the ladder, and he gave himself the briefcase. And one step closer he was towards achieving his goal later that night. I'll talk more about that goal in a second, but this was a very fun ladder match, and just considerably fast pace. It was relatively short. It went by like that quickly, considering like everyone was keeping themselves busy. There was some pretty nice spots in there. Everyone, yeah, like I said, everyone got involved with one another. There was like no room to rest in this match. I am disappointed, however, with the lack of interference. At least one point of interference in this match. Like, I was really surprised that Logan Paul especially did not show up in this match and try to at least try to cost LA Knight the match, because they've had a feud they've been feuding with one another since like the beginning of June last month, and yet the only interesting interaction that they had was pretty much LA Knight, invading Logan Paul's Puerto Rico mansion and just like lounging in his pool. That's pretty much all it was. I mean, yet I felt like, Logan would go out there and get some payback in Toronto and cost him a chance at getting a briefcase for the world title. But yet, no, he didn't. It was really disappointing. Now it's like, what do you have to build off of? I don't know, man. It was just strange. It was just really strange. Not even the Wyatts. I mean, it was a little not surprising that the Wyatt Six didn't get involved, because they're still easing their way to making their presence felt on Raw. But it was a little surprising that there was like absolutely no interference by like either person, for either person yet getting targeted in this match. So the ultimate favorite in this match, like Jey Uso, I feel bad for him a little bit, because he's this hot commodity among all wrestling fans, whether you're a casual or hardcore fan. But yet, for some weird reason, Triple H is like, he has him lose this major match. Like, I don't know. I don't understand why. And I get it. He's not the best wrestler in the world. He doesn't have the biggest moveset. But I mean, he's very popular. He's getting he has the most hype entrance right now in the WWE. And he can wrestle. But it's just so strange that you don't have him win the briefcase. I mean, if it wasn't going to be Drew McIntyre, you certainly could have gave it to Jey Uso. And I know he's going to get rekindled with the Bloodline story eventually, but you could have still had him with the briefcase, in my opinion. and then take that. He can actually be able to travel with that to SmackDown, travel to both shows, get himself involved with the Bloodline story. And when Bush comes to shove, in a probably crazy scenario, let's imagine this. If Rock takes that title from Cody, and then Rock somehow beats Roman at, let's say, WrestleMania, and it sounds like a very crazy scenario, but Jey Uso cashing in on The Rock. Oh my. No, it's not stupid, but they're just having fun here. But anyway, Drew McIntyre wins a fun ladder match opener, and he has this ultimate goal of cashing in on the same night, get his World Heavyweight Championship that he lost back at WrestleMania, that he couldn't get in his homeland of Glasgow, Scotland. So let's see what had happened later on in the night, going on into this review. The next matchup we had was the WWE Intercontinental Champion Sami Zayn taking on the Freak, Braun Breaker. Now, for this matchup, there wasn't really a lot of setup involved because Sami Zayn, he just pretty much was moving on from his feud with Chad Gable that lasted since WrestleMania. And now he wanted to face a new challenge. And that challenge was met by both Sheamus and Braun Breaker. So both of them were pretty much demanding a crack at the Intercontinental Championship. They had a match with each other, which ended in disqualification. Braun Breaker left the lasting impression, spearing both Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser in half with that 40-yard dash spear. And then he got in Sami Zayn's face. So then the next week, you have General Manager Adam Pearce make a title match official after Sami Zayn agreed to defend it in his home country of Canada, even though he's from Montreal, Quebec. But anyway, you get this title match right here. And I gotta say, with this match, fuck. I've seen Braun Breaker on Raw, but every time I see him, he looks fucking impressive, man. He is so insane and so talented. And like he just keeps getting better and better. I loved almost everything about his performance in this match. Be it from dismantling Sami Zayn in the early portion of this match, being one step ahead of him when Sami Zayn was trying to do this big move. It was like he was trying to run and then like to do this underneath bottom rope move, but then Braun like tackled him like right away. And then the Frankensteiner from the top rope, like holy shit. And then the pop-up military press power slam. Some good stuff there. Of course, it's just an unfortunate shame though, that for whatever dumb dick thinking that he has, Triple Nose Man, he makes Braun Breaker go through this 50-50 booked match that allows Sami Zayn to get in a shit ton of offense. And no disrespect to Sami Zayn because he's done some good shit during the Bloodline days. But it's just very curious, since those Bloodline days, he hasn't done anything interesting. And not only, going back to this, Braun Breaker lost to Sami Zayn. And I would have understood that if Braun Breaker lost in a fluky fashion, that would have allowed for a rematch. But no, he lost to Sami Zayn on a decisive pinfall. He countered the spear again, and Sami Zayn just delivered a haluva kick. Just like that. It was so stupid. It was so stupid. And just wait till you hear the reasoning of how they're trying to do this rematch when we talk about the Raw portion of this episode. So it's just really baffling. It is. I was so mad. I was so upset. It's like, Noseman, he has a genetic freak, no pun intended, and a future star in Braun Breaker. He's getting better in promos. He's really good in the ring. Yet he makes him lose his first major pay-per-view title match that he should have dominated. Again, I would have understood if he got disqualified or he lost on a fruit roll-up or Sami Zayn, he loses by DQ or something. But either way, it's like, why the hell are we having Braun Breaker lose in a clean fashion when he should have been this dominant force. I really don't get it. It's just another case of Triple Nose being stupid as hell. And again, no offense to Sami Zayn, but his Intercontinental Championship reign has been overshadowed by his opposition. The heel turn of Chad Gable made him much better. And then now you have Braun Breaker. He's like this freak that everyone's barking for. Literally, they're going woo, 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 woo. Like Sami Zayn, he's just cutting the same promos. Like, oh, I'm not the underdog anymore. Oh, I'm the champion. That's why I worked so damn hard to be this champion. Okay, and it's like basically Sami Zayn pre-bloodline. Like, come on, man. This, along with beating Chad Gable and now beating Braun Breaker clean, are the latest indicators of why he was the absolute wrong choice to dethrone Gunther at WrestleMania. And I know I'm gonna have people in here saying, "Oh no, he was the right choice." No, Chad Gable was supposed to be should have been the one, because that should have been his last chance, and he should have overcame that last chance. Because what exactly is Chad Gable doing right now? I mean, again, he's feuding with the Wyatt Six, but it's like, how long are we gonna take with that? So anyway, I mean, I still completely expect Braun Breaker to get that title like as early as SummerSlam next month. But why should it matter now when he took such a decisive loss? Why should we have like reason to believe, even when we talk about the next part in the Raw portion, why should we have reason to believe he deserves another title shot? Like, really? Let's be real with ourselves. Think about that for a second. So after that stupid booking decision by Triple Nose, we at least get something interesting here. The Trish Stratus comes out. She, we can't forget that she is the host of Money in the Bank, because she barely came out during the show, but she came out here to try to relieve of that dumb dick crap by Noseman, and she came out and introduced John Cena. I was like, wait, John Cena? He's in Toronto? And then John Cena, he comes out. He's got new clothes on. Still has the same graphics though. That doesn't match his clothes. And he suspiciously has this clothing and this rally towel that says "The last time is now." Like hold on. I was like, wait, say what? So hold on a second. What? The last time is now. Like what do you mean? What do you mean the last time? It's like that don't tell me what you think you're doing, John. Don't do it, John. Like we're not ready for this, John. We're not ready for this, pal. And then after his entrance, he pretty much went straight to the point. I'm like, God damn it. No, I wasn't ready for this day. Like, don't do this to me, man. He announced his retirement. I'm like, fuck. I was like, God damn it. So he announced his retirement, and obviously that tugged me at the heartstrings. He didn't specify why he was going to retire. He just did say he wanted to come here to Toronto and make the announcement, and of course thank the fans for being there over the last over the 2 decades of his career. But he did say Money in the Bank wasn't going to be his last night ever, because he said in 2025 he was going to make it big. He was going to make it the last of many's. Raw, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and he initially said the Final Destination, but this is just going to be his last. WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Now, he said in his post-show presser that the tour is gonna last till the end of 2025. So after WrestleMania, he's gonna continue to wrestle. He said around 30 to 40 dates, dependent on his Hollywood schedule. But like, fuck, I'm not ready for John to leave us fully, man. I grew up with John Cena. When I first started wrestling in 2006, along with Rey Mysterio, Edge, The Undertaker, Batista, even Chris Masters, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Carlito, The Big Show, Kane. Like, I'm not ready for Cena to leave us fully. Like, all my childhood stars that I grew up with, they're almost gone. Just imagine how I'm gonna feel when Rey Mysterio fully retires, man. I have to like embrace it while it's here, man. It's like, I think that's the theme of this gist. Embrace John Cena while he's here. But I'm just very happy he gets to do it on his terms. And I know some people aren't fans of him, like, especially during the PG era. And hey, some of them aren't fans of him now. But you got to respect his work ethic, his commitment, and his loyalty to the WWE. And I know, again, some people weren't fans of his characters, his promos, during like the middle portion of his career in the 2010s. But man, you really appreciate what's missing once they're gone, if that's the right phrase for it. But I'm gonna miss. I'm just gonna miss John Cena, man. That really sucks. But I think he knew it was time. I think he knew it was time. He wasn't moving as well as he was, especially at WrestleMania. What was it, last year? 39 against Austin Theory. He was moving pretty slow against Solo Sikoa in that match, but he knew his time was up. And plus his Hollywood schedule, he's getting a lot busier there. You know, commitments, age, it catches up to you. John Cena can't do it forever. But either way, John Cena's had a hell of a career, man. It's just, man, it really hurt my soul. It's really hurt my soul, but hopefully we get to enjoy it one last time in 2025. So moving on from that heartbreaker to this match. The World Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest taking on Seth Rollins. Now this matchup was probably the other most unpredictable one on the card, because Seth Rollins, we actually weren't expecting him till like a lot longer. But then after Clash at the Castle, he surprisingly made his return earlier than expected after taking some time off after WrestleMania to heal from his various nagging injuries, whether it was his back or especially the knee injury that he suffered after the Royal Rumble, I believe. Yeah, no, before the Royal Rumble. So he took time off to heal from those injuries. So he came back and he wanted to qualify for a spot in the Money in the Bank ladder match. But Damian Priest wouldn't allow it, pal. And they were talking about memories. Seth Rollins losing the World Heavyweight title to Drew Mack, only for Drew to lose it to Damian Priest via Money in the Bank. So they talked about that. They noted their similarities and differences about, I also cashed in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania. I worked so damn hard too. So Seth asked him what his legacy wanted to be, and Priest, in turn, offered him a title match at Money in the Bank, which Seth gladly accepted. So there wasn't really a lot of like heat in this match before the following week, where they decide to up the stakes there, pal. Seth Rollins loses. He won't be able to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship again until Damian Priest loses that thing. But if Damian Priest loses, he leaves the Judgment Day. So that last part is very key. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, because initially, when this match was first announced, I was already set on Seth Rollins winning this match, because him versus Gunther was a much better title match. Because remember, Gunther won King of the Ring back in May, because people seem to forget that. And Gunther beating Seth was a better way to establish him as a top level main eventer, as people find him boring. And yes, he can be a little boring at times, but come on, man. The Ring General is here to stay. However, despite this plain build, the stakes and the stories involved, make this one of the, if not the most unpredictable matchup on the card on this past weekend. Because if Seth lost that match, what we had to wonder, what was he going to do at SummerSlam that isn't him defending his title against Gunther? And yeah, people were kind of wondering, like, oh, it's only a couple week reign that's going to go on to Gunther. But it's like, yeah, but what else was he going to do at SummerSlam? More importantly, this match was centered around Damian Priest, because him and his issues with the Judgment Day were really reaching a boiling point by this point. Because ever since Rhea Ripley vacated a Women's World Championship and she had to leave to tender to her shoulder injury, Damian Priest has been having serious issues handling the group, whether that be the group's inability to take very simple things like Braun Strowman, or beefing with the Latino World Order, or now you suddenly had Carlito just trying to audition for the group and saying, "Oh, that's cool." But yeah, you have all these various issues of the rest of the Judgment Lane just not wanting to listen to Damian Priest. And yet he seems so much more focused on himself, being self-centered, and that's what the World Heavyweight Championship does to you. Getting that world title does to you. You focus on yourself and protecting that world championship, which has led to trust issues from his own stablemates, especially Finn Balor. But perhaps the biggest problem that Damian Priest was having in this whole Judgment Day dilemma came up within the last month, and that was the Liv Morgan situation and her ongoing seduction tour of Dominik Mysterio as part of her Liv Morgan revenge tour against Rhea Ripley, her former tag team partner, her buddy from 2 years ago. And Damian Priest was not having it, at least from 2 weeks ago. He wanted Dominik to take care of that thing, but couldn't. And now he has all these distractions coming to a head into this, perhaps his biggest test yet, in Seth Rollins. And with an event called Money in the Bank, there was an even bigger looming threat: the Money in the Bank contract. And if a certain Scottish warrior won that contract earlier in the night, which he did, by the way, he vowed to cash that in and win the title as payback on both Priest and a certain best of the world by the name of CM Punk. So this was seriously all or nothing for both men. So for Seth, a loss means no title matches and a need to reinvent himself. Because, I mean, come on. Are we still really doing the Are we seriously still doing the theme song? But anyway, for Damian Priest though, this was really important to him because he would keep his world title if he won, and his stance in the group that is the Judgment Day, the group that Edge first brought him in back at WrestleMania 2 years ago. But then when you look back at Damian's treatment of the group since April, since becoming world champion, and especially those lasting comments that he made when he agreed to that stipulation, at least his end of the bargain, where he was going to leave the Judgment Day if he lost, he said, "The Judgment Day need me more than I need them." Was that going to bite him in the ass? Was all of his issues with not just Seth and Drew Mac and the rest of the Judgment Day, were they all going to come to a head? Especially if the Women's World Champion got involved. Let's talk about this match. After I broke down pretty much every aspect available to you in the last couple of minutes. And I was very surprised that this match was in the middle of the show rather than the main event, because considering that everything that I just said needed to be told, this was not the main event match. This was not the match that closed the show. We'll talk about the match that did close the show. So right before he left this match, Damian Priest asked for the last time to let him handle his business. No Judgment Day, no Finn, no JD McDonald's, no Carlito, and especially no Dominik Mysterio. So they agreed, but Finn Balor, as Damian Priest left, he gave this suspicious stare, saying, "Fine, whatever, boss." So anyway, this match was very solid. They had this high octane offense on each other from the start, as they knew the urgency of Drew McDaddy coming out. That was in the air. But then much later in the match, it started to slow down a little bit. And it was kind of a little concerning. Maybe Seth had ring rust. Damian was getting a little gassed. So much later in the match, you have Damian Priest using his karate background to get a flurry going. But he was trying to go for South of Heaven. Seth countered with a curb stomp for a 2 count. And then this was a very strange thing that happened in this match. And probably the one that probably ruined the whole thing. So Seth hits the superplex. Damian Priest counters the Falcon Arrow part of it. And then Seth eventually does hit the Falcon Arrow to complete the combo. And he seemingly had the match won because Damian Priest didn't kick out. Like, most opponents normally do when they kick out of Seth's Falcon Arrow. But for some reason, the referee stops counting. He didn't count to 3 when Damian Priest didn't kick out. Was something supposed to happen there? Did Damian lose feeling in his body? Like, did he get concussed? Or was someone supposed to give a signal that, Drew was supposed to cash in right now? This was bad. This was very bad. And there's nothing the referee could do in this situation because Damian, it was clear that there's something wrong with him. But then also something happened there that made all of them look very bad. It was a piss poor situation, and you could see the frustration, the disappointment on Seth's face, and then later Damian's face. This was terrible. This was bad. I really didn't like how this went down. And sure, the rest of the match saved it some. It made you forget what was happening. But I don't know, man. That's at least for some people. For this was this didn't. But it was ugh. So anyway, you had Drew come out to do what he promised and then cash in. Although you had Seth clearly still up, clearly half up, which is bad in itself, to make it a triple threat. So Seth's in the corner, Drew cashes in, but then Drew getting some offense in, just hitting the Future Shock DDT on Seth, hitting a kind of Claymore on Priest. He didn't connect it fully. So despite doing all that, Priest is about to get pinned by Drew. Right on cue is CM Punk. CM Punk gets his lick back from the bloody insult in Chicago, and he goes full out on Drew Mack. Hits him with a steel chair, and hits him with the World Heavyweight Championship. Damian Priest takes advantage yet again of Punk's interference with a South of Heaven chokeslam. 1, 2, 3. Damian Priest retains the World Heavyweight Championship and keeps his place in the Judgment Day. For now, at least. I know some people are saying many people were saying, what an absolute waste of the Money in the Bank contract. And I'm just saying, are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious right now? Because Drew McIntyre did exactly what he's supposed to do on Saturday. Yeah, sure. You could have said, why didn't CM Junk just involve himself into the Money in the Bank ladder match and cost Drew there? Because it wouldn't have had the same oomph. It wouldn't have the same impact. You wouldn't have gotten what happened post-match either. So, by costing Drew Mack the World Heavyweight Championship again, CM Punk continue to ignite that big-ass fire that's already in this feud. And again, maybe I'm defending it a little too much, but you want to have that one last impression, one last ignition in this feud. So this was not a waste of the Money in the Bank contract. I don't understand why it's so hard for people to understand this. That you want to have this final blow, and you want to at least have to ignite one more brawl sometime before SummerSlam So Adam Pearce is going to have no choice but to actually let them fight, whether CM Punk is cleared or not. Like, I don't understand what's so hard about this. Like, I really don't. You got to ignite that fire even larger. So to piss off Drew even more, to ignite CM Punk into Adam Pearce, to getting Adam Pearce to give him a fight, whether he's medically cleared or not. So overall, it's like, this was fine. This was fine for what it was. Plus, did people really think that whoever did win the Money in the Bank contract, other than maybe Jey Uso, you can make a case for Jey Uso on that situation I talked about earlier with the bloodline. Did people really think that the men's Money in the Bank winner, that wasn't going to be Drew, that potentially wasn't going to be Jey, did they really think they were going to cash in on Cody Rhodes or the ring general Gunther in the next year? Really? I certainly didn't. I certainly did not. What I am a little surprised that I didn't think happened was the lack of involvement from Finn Balor nor Liv Morgan in this match that affected either Seth Rollins or Damian Priest. Like, I really thought Saturday would be the night that the Judgment Day would really make their presence felt. That, even though you have the stipulation in, too bad. We're going to make the choice for you, whether it's accidentally or intentionally. Now, Liv Morgan would have had, her chances were very minimal, even though she was there. But Finn Balor, after he said, "Oh, whatever, boss," maybe he still would have interfered anyway. But I don't know. It's a little interesting that no Judgment Day stuff happened. Not even Dominik came out. It was a little interesting that nothing happened there. So Damian Priest still in Judgment Day for now. But whatever Finn Balor and possibly Liv and the rest of them, they're scheming up, that looms large, as the title match with Gunther is now set for SummerSlam. And also notice, even though there wasn't anyone from Judgment Day, look how visibly disappointed with how Damian Priest won with the help from CM Junk. He even looked into the eyes of CM Junk, like glaring at him and how disappointed he was that he got help from him. He was like, "Come on, man, just let me win on my own, goddammit." It's like, these 3 title defenses, like, let me win on my own. So anyway, the last thing I want to talk about with this match is about Seth Rollins, because Punk also indirectly got into his business. More on that when we talk about the Raw portion too, because he indirectly cost him the title as well. And now Seth is even more pissed at Punk because, they got real life beef. But now he's even more pissed at Punk that, he just basically cost him any future chances for the time being for the World Heavyweight Championship. So maybe it adds even more fire to their feud whenever Punk is done doing feuds with Mac, the Mac Daddy. So either way, very solid title match. And I really like the story advancement with Punk and Drew, and now you have Seth involved in Punk's business again. But I can't get past that pin botch, man. That was very bad. That was so bad. Now I can kind of see why they didn't main event, because of the lack of Judgment Day involvement with Finn, and a little bit of the lack of Liv Morgan. But they want to go with just CM Junk getting his payback on Drew McIntyre that night. So moving on with the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and your participants were Io Sky, Chelsea Green, Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Zoe Stark. Now, I'll be honest with you, with this match, there are only 2, maybe 3 realistic winners. Chelsea Green, Tiffany Stratton, and Naomi. Now, I'll talk about those options when we talk about the winner here. But this match was decent, but I'm not sure why it got the praise it got. They were raving and loving it so much. I mean, maybe because they these women were taking so many dangerous bumps. And I mean, like, at least they're trying something crazy. But it's like, dude, be careful. Like, be careful. And you, like, they're nearly making a clear amount of mistakes or botches, because the very first half of this match was full of botches. Because, for example, Lyra Valkyria trying for a tornado DDT, but slipped off the ropes midway as she tried to do it. Zoe Stark hitting her head on the ladder, trying for a springboard spinning splash, and then she hit her head. And then you had, there's another one, but they're playing them. There's just like the woman, like nearly slipping off the ladder. That was like, oof. But they bounced back though. They at least bounced back in this ladder match, doing all these crazy bumps, and some impressive work too. Like Naomi, with a nice save with the as the ladders were tipping over, doing a split leg DDT onto Tiffany, and then Chelsea Green, who was the MVP of this match, she was like so damn close to winning the briefcase. But then you had Tiffany Stratton climbing up at the last moment, and then she pushed Chelsea off the ladder, and then Chelsea, holding her head smartly, crashing through two tables that she and Tiffany set up earlier in the match. I was like, man, what karma that Chelsea Green endured. So Tiffany Stratton was all alone, and then Money in the Bank became Tiffy in the Bank, and she's now Tiffy in the Bank, Miss Money in the Bank winner, and rightfully so. So, yeah, again, I'm not sure why this match got so much praise, why Michael Cole and Corey Graves were like nutting all over it. Like it was the best match ever, because it was so messy for much of it. I mean, for the botches, they were so apparent. Like, if they can't do the spot, then they shouldn't be doing it. And they were like telegraphing it as well. But regardless, they did bounce back to make it for a decent match. But I will say this, Chelsea Green would have been a fun Money in the Bank holder, because she was doing a lot of funny shit. Like trying to reach for the briefcase by like jumping at the very start of the match, and then like using the ladder to like take it off, like using the ladder as like a javelin, like a spear, to get the briefcase. Because like apparently they're talking about how Chelsea has a fear of heights. That was funny as hell. Oh man, Chelsea Green, like she could have had a lot of fun with the briefcase. Like, oh, is she gonna cast in? But Tiffany Stratton was definitely the right choice. She's the future of the women's division. If not how, well, yeah, how good looking she looks. But also she just has that athleticism. She just has that great in-ring technical work rate, pal. But she pretty much has the complete package. She just has to work on her promos more. But she continues to improve on that. She's still fairly young, and I think sooner or later she could eventually get that title off of Bayley with the Money in the Bank contract. And yeah, sooner or later, Tiffy time is ticking for that WWE Women's Champion Bayley. So congrats to Tiffany Stratton on winning the WWE Money in the Bank contract for the women's. So then you had your main event, the WWE Champion Cody Rhodes reforming the Super Friends, this time involving the Viper, Randy Orton, and Canada's own Kevin Owens to take on the Bootleg Bloodline. And in this 6-man tag, it had the fake-ass tribal chief Solo Sikoa leading the charge with Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga. So the setup for this match had Roman Reigns, after he lost the WWE title at WrestleMania and disappeared. Solo Sikoa back in April, he took over the Bloodline by force. He reformed it in his vision by adding Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa. Some of you may know him as Camacho. And then he later added Jacob Fatu to the group. So basically, this was his version of the Bloodline. A ruthless, aggressive, no nonsense bloodline that wouldn't even listen to the wise man, Paul Heyman. Right from the jump, when Solo first re-envisioned the bloodline, they kicked Jimmy Uso out. And then a week before Money in the Bank, when they were getting even more aggressive, when they would continue to reform the ranks, they eventually kicked out Paul Heyman, the wise man, following the eventual tension between Solo and Heyman. During this time, between this period, Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, they've been beefing with this new bootleg bloodline. And then eventually, WWE Champion Cody Rhodes, after he thought he was done with bloodline business, he would get back into bloodline business because Solo Sikoa would force his way back into Cody Rhodes' business after he was fresh off defending his title against AJ Styles at Clash of the Castle. So a 6-man tag team match was made official the next 2 weeks for Money in the Bank. And an interesting note about this match, we didn't know who was going to be the third rep for the bloodline before Showtime. That ended up being Jacob Fatu. And upon further research, Jacob Fatu has a serious track record, man, and not a good one. So apparently he has a serious track record of, like, I believe it was like DUIs, which is a big no-no in Canada when it comes to crossing the border. So WWE had to do a lot of serious work to get him into the country. And WWE, like, in storyline, they played it off as, Jacob Fatu was too dangerous to even bring to the country, and why they even bring him in the first place. So yeah, Jacob Fatu, the dangerous group, the dangerous bunch of the bloodline, he got in despite that sketchy record. And yeah, this match was going to be their main event over the World Heavyweight title match. But we'll talk about why I have such a you-know-what for it. So anyway, this match was very substandard. It was just basically both teams trading the momentum with each other. Jacob Fatu looked good in this, though. When he first got in the ring, he basically no-sold Randy Orton's draping DDT. And then he just, like, when Randy Orton was going to set up for the RKO, Jacob Fatu just rose up to his feet. And then Randy Orton was just like, well, fuck. He was just like, well, fuck. And then from there, the pace of the match just, like, really slowed down. Like, last year when it was like the Bloodline Civil War, except, you have the bootleg Bloodline, and they really drastically slowed the pace down. And then both teams took turns trading the momentum. The Super Friends got their hot tags in. And then when you got to Cody getting the hot tag in, he pretty much wiped out the entire fake bloodline, including Jacob Fatu in the ringside area. And then later on, just when you thought the shenanigans ended with Roman's bloodline, no. Ref bump. Ref bumps were here to stay in Solo's fake-ass bloodline, because Solo and Jacob Fatu accidentally took out the referee twice. And then you have this spot with Kevin Owens splashing onto Fatu through the announce table. And then Solo Sikoa was all alone in the ring. He ate a bunch of finishers. But then you saw the focal point of this match, seeing Tonga Loa twice botching a low blow. He first hit Kevin Owens, finger him up the ass, and then then the second punch landed onto Kevin Owens' nutsack. But then he also hit Tama Tonga in the head. I'm sorry. The clip of it is too funny. It's like, I know he got nicked up when Cody dove on him and he hit hard on his head. But I'm sorry, to Tama Tonga, like, botching a low blow. It's just so funny. It's like he thumbs Kevin Owens up the ass, and then he hits Tonga in the head when he's supposed to hit Kevin Owens in the nuts. You guys gotta watch that clip. You guys gotta watch that botch if it ends up on Botchamania, man. It's on Twitter too. It's on Twitter, Instagram, and I'm sorry if I'm laughing this hard on a botch that seems so harmless, but it's like, damn. I'm sorry. It's just too funny. But anyway, so Solo Sikoa, he Randy Orton would hit the RKO on Tongaloa and Tama Tonga before his ass gets Samoan spiked by Solo. But then Solo would receive the double crossroads by Cody, and then Cody was about to go for the finishing trifecta. And that seemed to be the death blow of the fake ass bloodline. But then Jacob Fatu reappeared out of nowhere and then flew into Cody. And then he also hit the Impaler DDT, and that allowed Solo to finish off Cody with the Samoan spike. And then with the ref dragged back into the ring, 1, 2, 3, victory for the fake ass bloodline. And that's pretty much how the show ends. Yeah, the fake ass bloodline standing tall, fake ass tribal chief getting a pin over the WWE champion. And yeah, that pretty much sets up your main event for SummerSlam. Fake ass Solo versus the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes for the WWE title. And we pretty much know what's going to happen there. The real tribal chief is going to come back for that fake ass tribal chief. So, like, why was that the only thing that we got in that main event? It's like, if it was going to main event the show, why didn't we get anything else out of this? Like, why didn't we get Jimmy return? Why didn't, like, someone else come out, like, to join that fake ass bloodline? Like, I really didn't understand why this had the main event the show. This was like a house show main event, a SmackDown main event. This really did not need to be in the main event because it's just really baffling. It is really baffling why this was on the last part of the show. But I get it. It's the symbolism of Solo hitting Cody, but it's again, that easily could have been accomplished in the middle of the show, yet they decided to do it here. When the lasting image of Money in the Bank could have been, I don't know, CM Punk staring into the eyes of Drew McIntyre, and then, you know, getting, like, also hearing it from Seth Rollins. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. It was just kind of weird how that played out. I don't know. That was just weird either way. It was just like a very flat end to the show, which pretty much describes Money in the Bank 2024. A very flat, disappointing show. Besides the end to Seth versus Damian Priest, Tiffany Stratton winning Money in the Bank, and the men's Money in the Bank opener. This is a very disappointing show. Like for the first time in a while, I was legit excited for a WWE pay-per-view under the Triple H regime. Like, of course, my expectations were pretty low because the pay-per-views in the last year, besides WrestleMania last year, it was not good. It was not good. And I guess maybe Survivor Series last year. But either way, there was so much unpredictability around this show. So many possible outcomes at play. But remind me not to keep my expectations as low as possible again, because Triple Nose under-delivered below such again. There are a lot of head-scratching decisions from the start, and the show really went downhill, like with the Intercontinental Championship match, especially like making Braun Breaker lose that cleanly. That was terrible. That was terrible. Noseman was gonna have to figure out, like, oh, how can we rectify this without half-assing it? Yet you'll still half-ass it. I don't know, man. That was stupid. This was a stupid show. Like, it went downhill. I mean, again, aside from the men's Money in the Bank, the Drew cash-in, which failed, Tiffany winning Money in the Bank, and I guess, I don't know, I guess the finish to the world title match. But either way, so many possible outcomes, yet Triple H didn't really do much with it. Really bad Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and they're like on the way to SummerSlam, and this is what we get. So let's just go over the little snippets I wanted to talk about with Monday Night Raw, the July 8th, 2024 edition, the Money in the Bank post-show, the first part of it at least, because SmackDown hasn't happened yet. But let's talk about the Raw portion of the Money in the Bank fallout. Not too much happened on this show aside from the the main points I wanted to talk about. That first main point was CM Punk. We talked about him on the Money in the Bank review portion. So CM Punk basically explained why he cost Drew Mack the World Heavyweight Championship and his Money in the Bank cash-in. Basically, CM Punk was saying he cost Drew Mack that in his other World Championship opportunity because of what Drew McIntyre did, injuring him at the Royal Rumble, gloating at his championship victory at WrestleMania, attacking him in Chicago. So CM Punk was basically calling himself the consequences of Drew McIntyre's actions. So his version of those consequences was costing him shots at Clash of the Castle, costing him the Money in the Bank cash-in at said pay-per-view, Money in the Bank. So it's basically consequent actions have consequences pretty much. So he went on to ask Adam Pearce to lift the suspension, and of course, because his own actions had consequences, so he could fight Drew McIntyre and finish this thing. But instead, he got Seth Rollins because, well, now he had beef with CM Punk for costing him his World Heavyweight Championship match, and now he can't challenge it because of the stipulation. So Seth Rollins basically told CM Punk that when he's cleared, Seth is coming after him for costing him his shot because, well, his actions had consequences. So, yeah, a basic, intense opening segment that I really liked, and it gave us clarity on why CM Punk kept going on after Drew McIntyre. And I know some people saying, oh, why is he keep going after him? He keeps costing him all these shots. Doesn't it make him the heel now? No, not necessarily. Actually, neither of them are the heels because, well, they just keep trying to one-up each other. And they're just basically spiting the other at this point. So basically, it potentially sets the seed for their SummerSlam match. That's if it does happen. Hopefully it does happen. If CM Punk is medically cleared to compete, even if it's just for an unsanctioned match. But at the same time, it also further planted seeds for a future Seth versus CM Punk feud that we almost got at this year's WrestleMania had Punk not gotten injured. So they planted seeds for that once that Drew feud is over. And then you see later in the night, CM Punk met with Adam Pearce to try and get Drew's suspension lifted for that fight that he wanted. But Pearce would talk it out with Drew next week. He invited him onto the show, but on one condition that CM Punk would have to stay home. While also noting that Punk was still not medically cleared yet. Again, going back to the point, whether CM Punk is cleared or not, they have to make this match happen. I mean, storyline wise, of course. So I'm not talking about in real life, but the goal here should be to get CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam in an unsanctioned match. Because, well, I mean, your card's pretty lagging right now, and you got to pay this off at some point. Like, you can't drag this out till, let's say, October for the Bad Blood pay-per-view without having them face off against each other once. Like, you can only do so much between Drew and Punk costing each other, like, title opportunities. So, it's like you pretty much lit that forest fire up already enough. And, yeah, like I said, with that Money in the Bank failed cash-in, that was the biggest fire left that you could have done. So, anyway, yeah, it's only a matter of time that they make this match official for SummerSlam. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about was that Sami Zayn promo and Braun Breaker segment on Monday night because, well, Sami Zayn, he came out to another rah-rah speech of how Braun underestimated him. He was the underdog. And, yeah, pretty much the same song and dance that we heard from Sami Zayn during his Intercontinental Championship run. But then Braun Breaker came out, surprisingly, because I thought it would have been the end for Braun Breaker. And it was going to be a one and done feud. But then no, Braun stared into Sami's soul for a good minute, and then he was given the mic, forcibly by Sami. And then Braun gave this speech. He let Sami know that, oh, I didn't deserve another crack at the Intercontinental Championship. I should just go back in the back of the line. And then just when he was going to say his next word, spear. 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 A hard spear to the Intercontinental Champion. And then when Sami Zayn rolled out of the ring, he did his 40-yard dash on Sami as well. And then you had Ilja Dragunov come out to check on Sami, and then he went on to beat Braun Breaker by DQ later that night, and then Braun brutally beat both of them down. So it seems like we're getting a triple threat match at SummerSlam, maybe even a fatal 4-way if you could get Sheamus involved as well, or a 5-way if Ludwig Kaiser gets involved too. I don't know, either way. At least they're, I don't know. I take that back. I'm not sure if this really is going to help Braun Breaker get that redemption back on Sami Zayn, because, like, damn, you ruined him. You kind of ruined him by having him lose clean to Sami at Money in the Bank. I wouldn't say necessarily say Barry, but there's a lot of work to be done with Braun Breaker. And now you had him lose by DQ again. Like, again, backwards booking. You make them lose so much, and then all of a sudden, oh, I get the big victory. That's not how it works here. That's not how it should be working. Oh, you got to build them up with wins. Yeah, you can give them a loss now and then by DQ. But then you give them the big win. The title win. Not backwards ass booking like you did with your current women's world champion on the way to the championship. That's not how it works here, pal. That's not how you make them credible. So anyway, let's talk about also what happened on the show at the World Heavyweight Championship, because I mentioned on my Twitter that they have to address this World Heavyweight Championship problem and that pin botch. Unfortunately, they didn't talk about the pin botch at all. Like, every time they have this controversy that's like so glaring, Triple Nose doesn't want to address it. Like, I don't know why his stubborn ass doesn't want to. It's like, you could clearly play this into a storyline Steph has a case to make this a triple threat. They can make a case to void the stipulation and turn it into a triple threat. But I guess in an essence, they kind of did, but not really. So there was a backstage segment between Seth and Damian where Seth walked up to him, and then they showed some mutual respect. They shook each other's hands, and then Priest voided the stipulation of Seth's inability to challenge for the World Heavyweight Championship. So basically making the match and Money in the Bank pretty pointless. Because, yeah, now either Seth can go and face Gunther at Bash in Berlin, that's if Gunther wins, or he can easily insert himself into the title match at SummerSlam. Because I think Seth gave a little glare, a little grimace at Damian before he left. So, yeah. Watch out, man. So now that they voided the stipulation, it's kind of pointless, if you ask me. So then we have the main talking point of this Monday Night Raw, and that was the main event, this mixed tag team matchup between Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega going up against the Women's World Champion, the talk of the town, the it couple, even though they're not really a couple, Liv Morgan and Dominik Mysterio. So all throughout the night, Dominik once again playing hard to get. This Daddy Dom clearly not pleased at all to be teaming with the Women's World Champion. Liv Morgan asked General Manager Adam Pearce to make this match in order to make up for costing Daddy Dom his match against his deadbeat dad Rey Mysterio last week. So remember the talking point saying, "Oh, I can fix this. Let me fix this, Daddy Dom. Are you okay? Are you bleeding?" So she wanted to find a way to make it right, and this was her way of making it right. So later on the night, you get all these kind of shenanigans of Liv trying to help Dominik prepare with some stretches on the big black couch, making them nut. So they do all these stretches and, of course, get caught in 4K, actually 10K, by the rest of the Judgment Lane, especially Damian Priest. So they get caught. They get hard, as Carlito likes to point it. But oh, sadly, I hope they enjoyed their freakiness for at least those last couple of minutes, that last hour, because sadly, Liv and Dom didn't know what was in store for them by the end of the night, especially Dirty Dominik. So this match was pretty good. It was a fun watch, especially the mixed tandem of Liv and Dom. They were actually good in their first outing as a mixed tag team. If they brought back the mixed match challenge, they should be a pairing. They should be the instant pairing. So anyway, you had all these really, really weird, freaky situations. You know, Dom getting drop kicked into Liv's, enjoying the freakiness at least one more time. And then you get all these various hot tag trading momentums between both teams. And then Liv actually helps Dom win against his deadbeat dad, chopping off Ray. Dom getting the frog splash on his dad. 1, 2, 3. Dom actually wins against his deadbeat dad, Ray. And in the heat of the moment, he hugs Liv. Liv jumps on him. And then, can you feel the love tonight? I don't know the words. They get in the missionary position, and it seems like this would be the night. Liv has got it. They're touching foreheads. They're about to touch each other. It seems like the night that Dominik Mysterio, Daddy Dom, was officially about to fold to freaky Liv Morgan. But of course, when you hear, "This is my brutality," you heard it ring through Ottawa. And of course, the fun police comes out, and it's Rhea Ripley. Another cock blocker in this relationship comes out. And yeah, Rhea Ripley is back. It was fun while it lasted, boys. The Liv and Dom, yeah, that was fun while we had it for like a month. But sadly, we got more cock blockers, and this one's legit. It's Rhea Ripley. So Liv runs away like a punk ass, which I didn't like initially. And then Rhea Ripley gets in the ring, ready to kill Dominik, like we all were joking about, but now it's legit gonna happen. But instead, she just walks away as Dom tries to explain himself, what's going on, as Raw goes off the air. Well, like I said, it's over. It's over, everyone. We've all had our fun for the last month. Liv Morgan and her women's world title push, her escapades with Dirty Dominik. We can all pack it up. It was fun while it lasted, boys. We can go back to Soul Gang. We can go back to waiting for, well, the next big thing that we can hope for Miss Watch Me. But no, I'm just kidding. No, it's not over yet. It's not over till it's over. Damn it. We still have time. We still have time. In all seriousness, though, I mean, I felt like Rhea Ripley's return, it could have been held off a little bit until SummerSlam. I'm not sure why they brought her back. Maybe she was ready. Maybe she was ready to go. Maybe she was healthy for a SummerSlam match against Liv Morgan. But I don't know. Maybe they just don't want to, like, WWE just felt like it would have been overkill. And maybe they didn't want Rhea's return to get overshadowed by, the real return, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, on that same pay-per-view. I mean, I'm not sure why they would feel that way. Because when you look at this return that happened on Monday night, this felt rushed. This felt flat. I mean, I'm not sure why they didn't pace it so you could have gave it more time, just a little bit more time. But yeah, like I felt like they really rushed to the point with this return. Like, you could have had like, oh, they're about to kiss, they're about to get freaky, and then of course you had the music play. You could have had Rhea stare into their souls for just a little bit longer. You could have actually had the camera pan get to Rhea and get a shot of her, staring into their souls. But of course, you only had like a good minute and a half of that left. And yeah, that's pretty much all you had. Plus, man, like I just wanted to see Dom start to fully embrace Liv. and, have her get more comfortable around the Judgment Day. Like by the time you get to SummerSlam, it was like, it could have been like 3 weeks. You could have gotten at least 3 more weeks of that. Like, man, now we just got, what the fuck? I mean, I get, maybe we could still get that. We could still get that as, Dom trying to sneak his way around, to get to Liv. But I don't know. I mean, after all, this is part of Liv Morgan's master plan to get inside the group and destroy it from within. But now you have Rhea Ripley back, trying to restore order. But look at the Judgment Day now. It's all fucked up. Now, going back to my initial point of Liv running like a punk ass, running like a wuss, driving like a, GTA 3 quotes. I didn't like that Triple H made her look like that because, you do all this talk, you do all this smack talk on Rhea Ripley, and yet, and again, she also didn't, on first initial contact, she didn't, back in April, she wasn't afraid to back down. It's like, come on, man. Like, it was like a complete 180 from April to now. And I get it, the chicken shit heel, but I didn't like how they presented that on TV in that 1 minute. But there was a video that WWE put out on their Twitter and their Instagram right after, like just seconds after Raw, and it featured Liv peeking out the curtain near the, like, far away from the commentary side of the cameras, and it showed her peeking out the curtain, seeing Dom get berated by Rhea, and then in the last seconds of that video, it shows her smiling. It shows her smirking as she walks away. So something is clearly in the works by that woman. She is using that man like a master manipulator. And I'm just like, maybe we wanted this relationship. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. Either way, did she get some secret lessons from Trish Stratus? Did she maybe learn something from 2 years ago when she ran into Edge? I don't know. Either way, like I said, Rhea Ripley is back to a fractured Judgment Day that seems all smiles on Monday, but there are some clear trust issues amongst one another. Everything that has happened in the last 3 months since Rhea left, yeah, it's gone. It is clearly broken. Like, she told Damian, like, well, you have to take care of this group for me. I mean, Damian still clearly is loyal to her. I mean, he picked up the phone for Rhea. It's like, where are you at? And then he was clearly not letting in on, well, oh, who was that? Like, you're in for a surprise or something in that one backstage segment. So he clearly kept it to himself from the rest of the group. And now the rest of the group is certainly going to feel even less trustworthy of Damian. And now less trustworthy of Rhea because of her past treatment to them. So especially to Finn and Dominik, and I don't know, I guess to a degree, JD McDonald. Carlito doesn't fit into any of this because it's Carlito. So Rhea's assertion for dominance is not going to work like it did before. And if she tries to, this group is going to implode real fast. So Dominik, on the other hand, run while you still can. You better start packing. You better start moving across the world. You better, like, go down to some part of the other part of the world and hide out. Hide out while you can before Rhea Ripley kills your ass. I'm just kidding. It's a storyline, of course. And then stop liking the post, man. Stop liking the post right in the open. Rhea Ripley is a frequent user of social media, pal. And then Liv Morgan. What else you got up your sleeve? I'm ready to see what this master plan of yours is. The whole revenge tour that started off really weird, but then now I think it's finally starting to come full circle. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this Rhea Liv feud that's about to kick in high gear. We were supposed to get this last year, this time, but Liv got injured, and I say, if it happened at SummerSlam last year, if Liv didn't get hurt, it would have been one and done, like it could have been had Rhea not gotten hurt for Backlash. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise in both cases, because how they wrote off Liv last summer of last year, and now the angle of Rhea the night after WrestleMania, this feud has a lot more heat to it than it ever did last year, with Liv getting hurt, and then after WrestleMania this year when Liv returned the favor, even though it was like a storyline reason too. This has a lot of heat to it now, with Rhea wanting to go after Liv, Liv's revenge tour, going beyond the distance of not just taking the Women's World Championship, going beyond the distance of injuring Rhea, getting payback for what she did to Liv. You have the elements of Liv seducing Dominik, Liv making her way into Rhea's family, and plus all the previous history together. There is so much material to work with. And yeah, going into the match, if they have a match at SummerSlam, which they probably will, Dominik is going to have to make a choice. He's going to have to make the biggest choice of his life. Do you go with the Mami that pretty much destroyed your ass, that pretty much emotionally harmed your ass, and pretty much forced you into this group? Or do you go with, yes, another seductress, but actually treated you like a damn human being in Liv? So, yeah, plenty to work with, and now we're just continuing to evolve this story, which is actually starting to begin in high gear. Like, give credit to Liv Morgan here, because she has really carried this story in the last month and a half, despite Rhea Ripley getting injured. Like, she's done worse. And of course, as much as I think the Judgment lame are just that lame, they've actually revitalized themselves with this story. They one interesting aspect of their whole history, and that is this story with Liv Morgan. This was the adrenaline shot for this group. Yes, an implosion angle. So, my thing that I'm always curious about, because I've wanted to see this feud go to WrestleMania, to be at this year's WrestleMania. But of course that didn't happen because, well, of course we had to get Rhea versus Becky. But now, with this feud, can we stretch this to WrestleMania next year in Las Vegas? I think it's going to take a lot of creativity to get there and a lot of commitment by Triple Nose. But let's say, they have their first match at SummerSlam. They do the betrayal angle with Dominik. I'm not sure if they do something at Bash in Berlin, but you have to get really creative to do something. They're going to have a second match at Bad Blood with some kind of stipulation. And then you do War Games. And then I'd say Rhea gets a title back at Bad Blood. And then, I don't know, Liv Morgan wins the Royal Rumble. And then that's when you finally do that match at WrestleMania. It's going to take a lot of creativity. I do think it could become a reality if Triple H commits to it. Like, I feel like this is a feud that can draw in viewership, like it has for the last month with Liv Morgan carrying this. She brought in the numbers. Now you have Rhea Ripley, who WWE is trying to establish as a top babyface, even though she is technically the heel in this story because, well, she started all this. Imagine her and Liv combining together to bring in viewership. Should be interesting. It should be interesting for this feud. And yes, I'm saying for this kind of feud, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting how this plays out. And I hope they seriously commit to it. And if they do, if they can find a way to stretch this out, to make this last, to make it interesting all the way to WrestleMania, and there could be off periods between then, little breaks between then, this could be a WrestleMania feud of grand proportions. And one last thing I want to note, Liv Morgan this is her biggest test yet. She's handled of the first chapter of this rivalry, and that's without Rhea Ripley. Now comes the next test. Rhea Ripley's back now, and she's gonna have to do her. She doesn't have to carry much of the load, or at least not as much of it. But now she's gonna have to see if, with Rhea back, she can handle this next chapter of the biggest story of her career. It's make or break time. I mean, Rhea's established now, but Liv, she's just like, she's had her ups and downs. She's had the failures of WWE booking, but now she's have the backing of it. Hopefully, it stays that way. You know, coming from a Liv fan, but she's got to exceed expectations once again. I mean, she's a smart woman. She's exceeded expectations before, and if she does so again, if she succeeds, then whether she wins this feud or not, which I hope she does, she'll truly etch herself as one of WWE's top players, one of the main event players in the WWE, regardless of the naysayers. So this is make or break time for her, and I hope that she makes it past this feud with Rhea Ripley, and hope it goes to WrestleMania. I really do. So yeah, that is my thoughts. That is my long thoughts on WWE Money in the Bank, this mega fallout show that also talked about Monday Night Raw, especially the return of Rhea Ripley, and of course that controversial World Heavyweight Championship match. But I'd like to know your thoughts on the WWE Money in the Bank pay-per-view that happened this past Saturday, and your thoughts on Monday Night Raw, on some of the highlights from it, including the return of Rhea. And if you have any thoughts on the Rhea Ripley Liv Morgan feud that's upcoming, let me know your thoughts in the comments as well on YouTube, or send me a message on social media on Twitter and Instagram at Cold Lasagna. We can have the discussion about that as well. But anyway, that is it for this long episode of Cold Lasagna. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning in to episode number 204 of this icy yet spicy sports podcast. And in the next episode, we're going back to our NFL season preview month with part 3 covering the NFC South and that future division. But until next time, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And as always, peace out.